What's going on, YouTube? It is Will here, back again, once again, for the last episode of season 3 of the Gridiron Talk podcast. Shane, it feels like just yesterday that me and you did our first episode, and now we're at February 11th, and the Super Bowl is going to be played tomorrow in Glendale, Arizona, man. So I just can't believe it, man. What a season of football. This was one of the best seasons of football in a long time. A lot of drama, a lot of stories. Because remember, Shane, it's scripted. Dude. It's just like the WWE. It's scripted. So the NFL's already
Yeah,
playing.
word.
Yeah, it's scripted. When people said the whole script thing, and then literally because it started to gain traction. It's been like a conspiracy theory for years, but I remember it started to get big again, like right before Damar Hamlin's incident, and then all the memes after he was okay of like him reading the script of having that massive heart attack. I was like, bro, like, can you imagine? Like, it's just crazy. Like, like obviously it's not scripted. Obviously it's a real thing. It's not the WWE. It's not professional wrestling. Like people need to chill. But or like look at Ryan Shazier. Yeah, he read the script and knew he was gonna get paralyzed. Like what? um, but anyway, Shane, how do you do, man?
Been doing good, just, grinding and yeah, that's pretty much
As you
it.
should, as you should. So obviously, there's only one game to talk about. Obviously, it's the Super Bowl. There's no more games to talk about. So actually, Shane does not actually have a script. As you know, unless you wrote some stuff you want to talk about, I wrote a script for myself that me and you will bounce off of. So, because again, there's only one game to talk about. There's really not much to say. But as you've been doing with the whole playoff, Shane, I know the AFC and NFC title games were kind of a long time ago, low key, but let's discuss some questions as we've been doing the whole playoffs about the teams that have lost. So let's start with San Francisco. So the controversy. Obviously Brock Purdy gets hurt on the first drive, and there are some people who are just idiots who say that did not matter, but it obviously did. Would you agree?
I mean, to a certain point, I think it'd be a lot closer game, but I personally, I still think they would have lost either way because their defense was not playing well in that game. But I definitely do think the score definitely would have been a lot closer if
Yes,
he
sir.
didn't. If he didn't, I think he has like I forget the actual injury, but it's the same injury that like baseball players get, and they have to get like
Yes.
Tommy John surgery
Yes.
on their elbow. So,
Yes.
um,
I was just about to talk about that. He has a UCL tear. That's what it's called, or UCL. And for people who don't know, your UCL is Shane hit the nail on the head. It's a baseball. Usually it's pitchers they get it, and usually Tommy John surgery takes people out like what, Shane, like 18 months or more than a year. If you get Tommy John surgery, you're missing at least a year of baseball. And then people who like non-positional players or positional players like first baseman, second baseman. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shane. They can still hit. Like they can still be DHs. They just can't throw the ball. Am I right?
yeah, but I can't remember the last time like a major like a major player that was like an infielder, outfielder, or like got a UCL tear because like you said, it's 99% of them happen with like pitchers, and even the other one is usually catchers, obviously, but
All right.
or outfielders, but I can't remember the last time someone that was not a pitcher was got that type of injury, came back to DH. I'm sure it's happened, but I can't remember the last time it's happened.
Right. So regardless, my question for you, Shane, is now who should San Francisco start next year? Do you think they go with Trey Lance or Brock Purdy? In your opinion?
Dude, I'm still I personally think they gotta consider Jimmy Garoppolo as well. I know a
Yep.
lot of people are kind of like writing him off and shit, but I honestly like I want to say Jimmy G, but I know for a fact they're not gonna consider Jimmy G. But I honestly think they need like Brock Purdy because they've wasted what 3 years of Trey Lance's career already. And that's
Yeah.
that's that's pretty much the reason why I'd say Brock Purdy, just because he's so young and he showed so much talent. But like when you have an offense that's built around that, like you have Debo, you have CMC, Brandon Ayuk, like all those players, Travis Kelce
Kittle,
or not Travis Kelce, yeah, George Kittle.
George Kittle. Yep.
Um, like it's kind of hard not to suck, or it's kind of hard not to be good, is what I mean. But so just like he's so young and like he's got a good coaching staff around him. So I mean, like, why not use like the most, like, not the youngest, but someone you'll get the most time out of? Because like we said, Trey Lance is also coming off an injury. I think he broke his ankle, I believe.
Yeah, he
Um,
broke his ankle in his lower leg. Yes.
yeah, so like, and this is his what, like, third year already? So
Yeah,
second,
and
third year.
especially for a mobile quarterback, that's a bad injury to have, because
Oh
Trey
yeah,
Lance
that
is very
yeah.
mobile.
So
So we'll have to see though. It's this is a very polarizing question because you ask a San Francisco fan, they're going to say they're not all set on one person. Like George Kittle, he said that Brock Purdy should have it. Joe Montana, the legendary quarterback, one of the best ever, he said Jimmy Garoppolo should come
yeah,
back. Kyle Shanahan, he said that he does not see Jimmy being in the roster, so he sees it being one of these two. So basically, it's
you
anyone's
got you
game.
got you got three start. See, this is what happens when you got three starting quarterbacks
No,
that play at
exactly.
it,
So
that play at it. I would say like an elite level to help your team, because they're all winning quarterbacks. They're
no,
all
that's a fact.
quarterbacks that can help. They're not like we've had this convo. They're all quarterbacks that'll help you win, not throw up stats. So
Well, period.
um,
And at the end of the day, that's what matters. We
yeah,
said about that. I'd rather have a quarterback that wins me games than one that lights up the stat sheet and doesn't win. But lastly, about Trey Lance, no, San Francisco gave up a lot for their future for Trey Lance. I'm sure you remember, Shane. They traded up to get him. They gave the Dolphins multiple picks, and Kyle Shanahan specifically wanted him. And through 3 years, he's still a question mark. Like he could be the next big thing, but he may very
mm,
well not be.
mm,
So there's a big question mark because there's very few quarterbacks that go into their third year with a massive question mark on their head. And if they trade Trey Lance, what are they going to be able to get from him? Like, trade him to a team that desperately needs a quarterback, maybe like the Jets. The Jets, or the Jets are looking to get Aaron Rodgers, but they need a quarterback. Obviously, the Saints, they're in the quarterback limbo. The Buccaneers now, since Tom Brady retired, like maybe the Buccaneers try to trade for Trey Lance. Before we continue to Cincinnati, what would you feel about that? Trey Lance going to Tampa Bay. Would you like that or no?
I personally would not like that. Um, I generally don't think we really need like a big like quarterback. I think we need fucking better coaching. Like, personally, excuse my language, but I am so sick of the coaching. Um, like, I don't necessarily like our quarterback room isn't even that bad. Like, I mean, I'd like to pick up a quarterback. Like, I'd like to pick up Jimmy G. I'm not gonna lie. If I had to choose out of any of the because like we said, the Niners got three of them, so pick your poison. I'd take Jimmy G, honestly, but I want better coaching. First off, I know we fired our offensive coordinator already, so definitely new coaches coming in, but I can see Trey Lance going to the Jets, though. That, I think that'd be a good fit. Um, because Garrett Wilson already won offensive rookie of the year, so
Right.
um, so I think that'd be scary, and definitely would put the Jets into playoff contention next year if they get Trey Lance.
Right. So let's go to the AFC title game where obviously the Chiefs beat the Bengals 23-20, and that rivalry between Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow will something to be watching, Shane, for the next 15 at least years, and it's going to be exciting to watch. Seeing these guys play just about every year, maybe twice a year. It's going to be fun to watch. But everyone always has their 2 cents about officiating. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. It just depends on who you ask. But after this game, it seemed like on Twitter, on social media, just like the media in general, there seems to be a lot of hate for the referees in the AFC title game. People, and this is what even sparked the rigging allegations. Like people actually like literally thought this game was rigged against Cincinnati. And they also said it was, again, the whole scripted crap came up even bigger. So my question for you, Shane, is do you think the NFL had a real issue with officiating this game, or do you think it's just Cincinnati Bengals fans like just being salty and being pissed that they lost?
I think it's half and half. I didn't watch all of the games, so I don't know like what calls they're really referring to. But I also think that a lot of like football fans don't actually understand the rules of football. So I feel like there's a lot of different scenarios that like go into it, and everybody has their like understanding of it. But I think it's the fact that there are some bad officials. Like, I don't know why we have 50, 60, 70-year-old officials out there that can't see. And then 21-year-old female referees that like just don't know the game at all. And then we have, ones that, are trying to make the game soft. So I feel like it's a lot of different people with different understanding of the game just being thrown into one huge scenario, and I think that's like why everybody is like so mad about the officiating. And then obviously, butthurt fans like that their team lost because they're Joe Burr fans. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot of people in one situation that like a lot of inexperience is another big thing, and a lot of people that shouldn't be in that. Like I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but I don't think a female should officiate a game ever. Just because like, especially if she's if she's like younger, like if she hasn't been around the game long enough, like I'm sorry, like call me misogynist for that. I don't really care. Like I don't think a female should be officiating a football game, especially in the playoffs. Especially in the playoffs, I feel like they should be experienced officials that know the game, that understand the game, and that aren't blind. So I don't know. It's a big problem the NFL is going to have to address this offseason either way. So it's definitely going to be interesting.
No, yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. Because it seems like that. And don't get me wrong, if these people like get to training and they're qualified, I don't really care if they're male or female, but it does seem like that most of the female referees are very young, like like our age, like early 20s ish. So it's almost like, well, how are you qualified to train? Because obviously, like most girls don't play football growing up, so if anything, it's just like interesting, or it just raises a question.
It's
But
it's kind of like what I'm trying to find. It's kind of like how they do broadcasting. Like I'm not gonna like crap on Tom Brady or anything, but how is he or Tony Romo? Like how are they qualified to broadcast our like football games just because they're like
they
obviously
played
because
it.
they're former players, but like it's not the same job. So how are like just like females who coach or females who are into the game, like especially like you said, like some of them look very very young. Like I think actually one of them is like 23, 24. Like how are you already like allowed to
Qualified.
qualified to officiate like any games, let alone like the playoffs, especially of like a Chiefs and Bengals game. Like you said earlier, the rivalry of Chiefs and Bengals, that's gonna be like the 90s and 80s Packers, or not Packers, Cowboys, Niners rivalry. Like good games like that, like is gonna
Or
come
the
out.
or the Colts and the Patriots with Brady and
Yeah,
Manning.
yeah, like Brady Manning, like it's gonna. I don't know. It's like I said earlier, officiating, whether male, female, there's only two genders, people. I'm sorry. Um, like it's gonna have to be something done about it, because either way, like no matter what side you look at it, because like this has been a problem for years, and I know we mentioned it one of our other games, but I'll leave this convo on this last note. The Rams and the Saints game, the NFC title game from I believe 2018, I think the year was
Yeah, I think you're
2018.
right.
The pass interference call, and like that's what really really started the recent years of the heat of better officiating. So it's definitely a problem they definitely have to start to solve like this year, because this year has been like I can't remember a year was this bad with like people complaining about the officiating, and not even like fans, but players, coaches, front office, like general manager, like every like on every level of the football world really complaining about the officiating. So Roger Goodell is going to have to do something about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, but let me just put in my final 2 cents. Like I said, like with soccer, like I think I mentioned this before. They literally have like they call it the VAR, which is like literally like people upstairs watching the play constantly. And
Mm-hmm.
if they miss a call, they phone into the ref's earbud and they fix the call. Like if they missed a handball or whatever and the referee didn't see it, they will like literally like look at it in real time and be like, okay, well, you missed it, and they like give him a ping, and then he like he like double checks it, and then he clarifies it, then he fixes it, and
I
like I
didn't
said, like
I didn't mention. This is a small note. I didn't mention this because we did talk about this. Pretty sure I didn't mention this last time, but I'm pretty sure the UFC has this as well. Like with like stopping fights and stuff like that. So I know it's not the same like correlation, but I know I'm pretty sure the UFC has it as well as like you said as well as soccer. They just have to be like very experienced. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like it's just kind of hard because you really gotta you can't it's got to be someone who's experienced but also like isn't too old or too young, and it's like you gotta have like it's a very specific job that has to be done like almost perfect or
Right.
like
So
I don't know, it's a problem.
let's continue on. My last thing I want to talk about was Tom Brady retiring, and it's for real. I know most people are like, oh, he's coming back, and it's like he's gonna be 46 next year. He's basically played half his life dedicated to the game of football. He signed this big deal with Fox, and people really think he's gonna come back. Like, nope, he's not. He signed the papers, the retirement papers, so he's officially retired. And let me just say that, I'm very blessed to say that I watched Tom Brady play basically my whole life. He's the greatest to ever play. He's the greatest to ever touch a football. He just won. That's what he does. He won. And I just can't believe he's actually retired, but it sucks, man. He's the GOAT, But yeah, what do you have to say about Tom Brady retiring?
I mean, hey, that man brought me a Super Bowl when everybody thought like I was crazy when I said he was going to bring one to the Tampa Bay his first year, and he did it. And motherfuckers hated him for that, but everybody hates the GOAT. That's not just because he's Tom Brady, but that's with like almost every sport. Everybody hates the greatest because all they do, like you said, is win. And it's definitely going to be weird not seeing Tom Brady play. Because the last time he didn't really play in a season was when I think he tore his ACL in like 08 or something like that. And that was, like 15 years ago. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch the NFL without Brady in it. But obviously, like this, like Patrick Mahomes is kind of like the next, like not the new Brady, but the new like guy that's been dominating. He just won his second MVP, playing in the Super Bowl, obviously. Which is crazy because this is his third one in his first 5 years, so it's insane. But yeah, Tom Brady retiring is definitely. I didn't even know they had the retirement letters. Like that's crazy that they had to give Tom like this is like the first time people are realizing there's like retirement letters in the NFL.
So different than every job. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
when you retire from any job, you have to write a letter of retirement, I think.
yeah, but
I could be wrong, but
you don't really like realize it in the NFL. And I didn't really like know there was any until like I saw the post about Tom Brady officially like writing it, and then obviously JJ Watt, another legend who retired this year, he said he wasn't writing it, but it's for real. So
that's funny.
So, but no, that's crazy.
Let's continue on to the Super Bowl. I know me and Shane can talk about all these discussions all day long, like the award winners and stuff. But let's just cut to the chase and talk about Super Bowl 57, which is crazy to think that out of all the pro titles, there's only been 57 Super Bowls, which is crazy because the World Series has been going on for over 100 years, the Stanley Cup over 100 years, and the Super Bowl is only not even 60, which is crazy. So a quick little facts about the Super Bowls. If you like to bet, if you're a gambler, the Eagles are 1.5 favorites. That I won't really get into that. You know what that means. You know what that means. Basically, it just means they're slight favorites. So it's to be a very close game. That's what Vegas is predicting. The NFC has won more Super Bowls than the AFC. The record is 29-27, and they've won the last two. This is the first Super Bowl in history to have two black starting quarterbacks, which I think is really cool. It's just a little interesting fact. Andy Reid becomes the fifth coach to coach against his former team in the Super Bowl. Obviously, he used to be the coach of the Eagles for the longest time, and now he's with Kansas City. Jason and Travis Kelce become the first pair of brothers to play against each other in the Super Bowl, which is also very cool and a very interesting fact. And that Kelce household is going to be very divided on tomorrow. And it's also the first time since Super Bowl 52, so the first time in 5 years that two one seeds are playing against each other. And lastly, it's the first Super Bowl to be back in Arizona since Super Bowl 49. And Super Bowl 49 chain was Tom Brady winning on the goal line. The Seahawks didn't run the ball. But every Super Bowl that's been in Arizona has been iconic. The one before that was the Giants winning the Super Bowl.
The Giants, yeah.
the helmet catch was in Arizona, I believe. Yeah, that was that one. The helmet catch, 18-1. And actually, the last time the Cowboys won the Super Bowl was in Arizona, and that was another close game. So you know what that means, Shane? That when the Super Bowl is played in Arizona, you know it's going to be a good game. So let's get into the first game or the first team. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs. They are 14-3, the number one seed in the AFC West champions for the 7th year in a row, which is crazy. Ever since Peyton Manning retired, they have dominated the AFC West. Franchise record, 10 straight winning seasons. Right? I mean, that's the Andy Reid effect.
That's
right?
Andy Reid. That's Andy Reid, baby.
100%. Chiefs are playing in their 5th Super Bowl in franchise history. As you said, Shane, with Tampa Bay winning, the Chiefs lost to them in Super Bowl 55, and they also lost the very first Super Bowl I, but they did win Super Bowl IV and Super Bowl 54. Some of their team stat leaders, obviously the MVP of the league, Patrick Mahomes, 5,250 passing yards, which was first in the NFL, 41 touchdowns, that was also first, 12 interceptions, a total QBR of 77.5, which was also first. And he also finished as a finalist for the Offensive Player of the Year. First team All-Pro, Pro Bowl selection. You know, he just lit up the stat sheets. And he's looking to be the first MVP to win the Super Bowl since 1999 with Kurt Warner and the greatest show on turf. And he's looking to become the first quarterback in history to lead the league in passing yards and win the Super Bowl. That is a crazy stat. Would you agree?
Yeah, I didn't even know that happened because Brady's led the league in passing yards multiple times, and obviously he's got 7 Super Bowls. So that's actually crazy. That's crazy that's never happened.
Their leading running back, Isaiah Pacheco, who has really grown out to be a very underrated star. Yeah, obviously the Chiefs' running game has really not been known since Jamal Charles. Shane, I'm sure you know him. He was a dog. Jamal Charles back in the day was him. But the Chiefs really haven't had a good running game or a very average running game since Mahomes has been the quarterback. But Pacheco's been pretty good as a rookie, averaging 830 yards or having 830 yards, 5 touchdowns, and averaging 4.9 yards per carry. That is an awesome yard per carriage total. And the Chiefs' lead receiver, obviously, Hall of Famer, Travis Kelce, 110 receptions, which is 3rd in the NFL, first for tight ends, 1,338 yards, 8th in the NFL, obviously first for tight ends, and 12 touchdowns, 2nd in the NFL, and obviously tight ends. So obviously Travis Kelce.
I'm gonna put this stat in because I'm pretty sure you have it, but it's pretty interesting. Did you see he's got 17 career games in the playoffs, right? Did you see that stat about it? About him,
no, I don't think so.
His stat line for his 17, in total for his 17 games is 1,600 receiving yards, I believe 120 catches, and then I believe 15 or 16 touchdowns, in total, which is that's a season's worth of playoff games. That's pretty insane. He clutches up in the playoffs, so he's definitely someone to watch during this game.
Yeah, he's I actually know what you're talking about. He passed Julian Edelman for the second most receiving yards. So he's only Jerry Rice has more receiving yards in the playoffs than Travis Kelce. And Jerry Rice is the greatest receiver to ever live. So that's crazy. And then flipping over to the defensive side of all, Chris Jones, he is another dog. The defensive tackle, he is a beast, and he's been underrated for years. But this is definitely the best year of his NFL career. 15.5 sacks, which was 4th in the NFL, 2 forced fumbles, 4 pass deflections, and he was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't win it. Nick Bosa won it, but he still was a finalist. And lastly, on their last team stat leader, and their most underrated player, in my opinion, L'Jarius Sneed, the cornerback. He has been clamps. He has just been so solid. He's not a household name, obviously, but he's not as good as the Eagles corners, but he is still very, very solid. 3 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, and 11 pass deflections. That is solid work from a cornerback that does not really get a lot of recognition. And lastly, other key players that I didn't really talk about, I won't really go into detail about them, but Juju Smith-Schuster, the former Pro Bowler, looking to get his first Super Bowl ring, which would be awesome. I've always loved Juju, so that'd be cool to see him win. Left guard Joe Thuney on the offensive line for the Chiefs. He's a second-team All-Pro, one of the best left guards in football. Center Creed Humphrey, same thing, second-team All-Pro, one of the best centers in football. He has a great future ahead of him. He was a steal last year. And then the defensive, let's flip to them. Linebacker Nick Bolton, one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. And Shane, now put your 2 cents in this, but would you say that the Chiefs' defense, besides maybe Chris Jones, they don't have a lot of household names, but they're very underrated? Would you agree with that?
They are extremely underrated. They have been a lot better since their last previous Super Bowl runs defensively. They're just I don't understand why everybody is sleeping on their defense. They're acting like it's gonna be clamps, that the Jalen Hurts is gonna go all over the place on them, and it's not. That's just my 2 cents is that this defense is probably the best Kansas City defense they've had in their dynasty, and I don't think people are realizing it. So
And they lost
it's
Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, and they lost and honestly I'm not saying Tyrann Mathieu was a bad player, but he kind of didn't really fit the scheme, so to say. I know that's kind of a questionable take, but he kind of he gave up a lot of big plays, which caused a lot of yards for the Chiefs to give up. So I feel like they gotten better since he left, obviously. So yeah, their defense is extremely underrated, and people sleep on them, especially in this game.
And then two other players, the rookie George Karlaftis, who has been also tearing it up. He was a late first-round pick last year. He made the all-rookie team, and he has a bright future ahead of him. And lastly, Frank Clark, who another solid player, but I did not know that Frank Clark is one. He's third in all-time playoff sacks. I did not know that. So Frank Clark turns up in the playoffs, and I believe he had a couple of big plays last week against Joe Burrow. So
yeah. He if you look stat wise, he's better than Chris Jones in the playoffs. Because Chris Jones got his first sack against the Bengals in the playoffs, which is crazy.
Yeah, last week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So let's get into the Eagles. Obviously, they were 14-3 as well. They were also the number 1 seed in the NFC. They had their best regular season record in franchise history. They only lost one game with Jalen Hurts as a starter, including the playoffs. They went 16-1, which is just insane. They are playing in their 4th Super Bowl. They lost Super Bowl 15 and Super Bowl 39, but they won Super Bowl 53, I believe, or 52, my bad, Super Bowl 52. So the Eagles are looking to win their 2nd Super Bowl. Some team stat leaders, Jalen Hurts, 3,701 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions with 760 rushing yards and 13 rushing touchdowns, which is 2nd in the NFL. And he was a finalist for MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. He arguably would have won it if he didn't get hurt, and he would have thrown for 4,000 yards, close to 1,000 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts this year has been off the charts. And like we said preseason, Shane, the Eagles had one question mark in their roster, and it was him. And they proved that he can step up, and look how good they're going to be. Look how good they are, So continuing on, Miles Sanders is one of the most underrated running backs in football for years. 1,269 rushing yards, that's 5th in the NFL. 11 touchdowns, that's 8th. And then averaging 4.9 yards per carry. Never great piece of this offense. But arguably their best offensive player, Shane, who they got from a trade, who they fleeced for the Tennessee Titans, A.J. Brown, right? Receptions, 1,496 yards, which is 4th in the NFL, and then 11 touchdowns, which is tied 3rd. And honestly, Shane, there's 2 things that really made this offense good. Jalen Hurts developing and trading for A.J. Brown. Would you agree?
Definitely, 100%. There's really no other, there's nothing really, nothing else to say about what made them better. It was definitely those 2, getting the trade for A.J. Brown, and then obviously Jalen Hurts' development.
And then here's one of the most underrated pieces that, again, he's becoming a household name, but he really wasn't until recently, was Hassan Reddick, who, for the longest time, not the longest time, but he was considered a bust because in the Cardinals, they played him at inside linebacker. And then they realized, oh my God, I'm a pass rusher. I'm an outside linebacker. And now in his first year with the Eagles, he also played a year with Carolina. He had 16 sacks, which was tied 2nd in the NFL. 5 forced fumbles, which was 1st, and 3 pass deflections. So Hassan Reddick has been a beast, and he is not getting enough recognition. And as a Giants fan, Hassan Reddick is easily a top 5 pass rusher in the NFL. And I think he's better than some pass rushers that get a hell of a lot more recognition, such as Khalil Mack. I'm talking like right now, obviously, not all the time. Khalil Mack, Chandler Jones, Matt Judon, Joey Bosa. Like Hassan Reddick is elite, and he's not getting the recognition that he deserves. Would you agree with that?
I agree, man. He's like, I put him up there with like Micah Parsons, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. And then obviously the other defensive player that's one of their key leaders is Darius Slay, who has 3 interceptions and 14 pass deflections, and he's just clamps. He's one of the best corners in football. Other key players, obviously Devontae Smith, who also has over 1,000 yards. He is arguably the best number 2 wide receiver in football. He's just another beast. The catches he makes are insane. Jason Kelsey, obviously, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. The future Hall of Fame center for the Eagles. He's, one of the best. Another arguable future Hall of Famer on the offensive line, Lane Johnson, they are 2 of the few players on the offensive side of the ball that, won the Super Bowl with the Eagles a couple years ago. Cornerback James Bradbury, who got released by the Giants last year, and he had a bad year, and he proved that alongside an elite cornerback like Darius Slay, he will have a bounce back year, which he did. And so, depending on who you ask, he's arguably better than Darius Slay. Safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who would have led the league in interceptions before he got hurt. I think he had like 6 picks in 12 games, which is insane, especially for a safety. And then lastly, defensive end Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat is a great pass rusher. Another player that does not get enough recognition for the Eagles. He's a Pro Bowler, and he's one of the key leaders on the defensive line. And it's really Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat as their main pass rushers. So Shane, I got some questions for you. Then we'll give our score predictions. My first question for you is: how will the Chiefs plan for the Eagles' robust pass rush, which has 4 players with at least 10 sacks?
I think they just do, I think Andy Reid just does what Andy Reid does. There's a lot of people are talking about like the players, but I think what's really going to go under the radar and what's going to decide this game is the coaching part of the game, which like we said, Andy Reid is, aside from like Bill Belichick and maybe actually I can't think of anybody else better than Andy Reid besides Bill Belichick, but like I said, he's definitely a top 2, top 3 coach in the NFL. And like honestly, all time as well. Andy Reid just he knows how to run his offense. We've seen it in the playoffs before, and it's just amazing every year to see like his game plan against defenses. Yeah, I honestly don't think they really need to change anything with their offense. Andy Reid just needs to do what Andy Reid does.
And my last question for you is I want to keep on going, but I don't want to make it too long. So my last question for you is this a legacy game for Patrick Mahomes?
No, I don't. See, it sucks that we're talking about this so early in his career, because what is he, 27? He was the oldest quarterback in the playoffs this year, which is crazy. 2-time MVP now. This is his 3rd Super Bowl. 5 straight AFC title game appearances, which I believe he's hosted all of them at Kansas City, which is insane. I don't think it is. I mean, either way, like they people were sleeping on the Chiefs this year, and like I'm pretty sure you called me crazy in like the 2nd or 3rd episode this year when I said I think the Chiefs are going to make the Super Bowl, and look at them now making the Super Bowl. But a lot of people are kind of sleeping on the Chiefs, and it's kind of disrespectful to the Chiefs and their dynasty right now. So I really think they're gonna, especially Patrick Mahomes, they're gonna come out, firing on all cylinders, and I don't know, man. It's gonna be a very interesting game.
If the Chiefs win and Mahomes wins Super Bowl MVP, this is where I'll leave it off at. He's a top 5 quarterback ever.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I was just about to say that he definitely top 5.
Ever.
Like he's already got a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP and 2 MVPs already. If he adds 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 NFL MVPs before he's even 28 years old, like Tom Brady didn't even do that. So
Right.
We still got like another 10 years of Patrick Mahomes greatness that we could see, and especially under Andy Reid. That's crazy to think about.
So, Shane, my last question for you is: who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl, man? Who's going to win Super Bowl 57 and host Lombardi?
You know what? I've betted on Patrick Mahomes all year. I've betted on him in the past. He has not let me down. I think the key scenario in this game is they be the coaching. The Chiefs, in my opinion, have way better coaching. They've been here before. The Jalen Hurts has not. The Eagles, they were here in Super Bowl 52, but they pretty much have a whole entire new roster. New coaching, I think I'm taking the Chiefs 28-24, and I think Patrick Mahomes. I want to see Travis Kelce win the MVP of the game, but I think Patrick Mahomes is going to get it. But I think 28-24 Kansas City.
I think a very similar score, 27-23 Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes does not lose these games. He is one of the best ever.
I want to put this like as a note, like as what Will just said. He doesn't lose these type of games. The only type of game he lost very badly was against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And you got to think, like, they did have that amazing pass rush, but they didn't have the O-line that they have now. Their wide receivers were not that, like, this Eagles defense was nowhere near as good compared to that Bucs defense. And then the coaching as well was a big part of it too. So you got to think Patrick Mahomes. He's just so good, man. I sound like Chris Collinsworth right now, but he's so good. He's so good, and I just don't see him losing this game.
So that's going to conclude this episode of the Gridiron Talk podcast of the season finale. Thank you guys all so much for listening and tuning in every week. It was fun to do this once again, and we will be back next year. If we're not busy, we might be able to pump out some off-season content. But as it is now, this is the last episode. So, Shane, do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off for the last time?
So for next year, like we said, this will happen next year. How often I will be on will be definitely a question mark. I will be appearing in an American National Combine in May in Washington, and then maybe later in the month in Chicago. These combines are kind of the same where like most like free agents go to. I'm going to one of the same ones where Adam Thielen, actually I sent Will this yesterday, Adam Thielen got signed to a contract, and then, look where he is now, balling out in the NFL. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where I end up, but my schedule may get very, very busy as I come closer and closer to pro football status. So we will see, but either way, I will make appearances on next season that we have this, obviously, whether I'm a pro or not. So, hey, I could bet on games and not get fined, Calvin Ridley style, But besides that, we also my merch is also dropping, thanks to Will. He dropped the link on the last episode. But yeah, besides that, I don't really have anything.
Thank you guys all so much for tuning in every week. I can't wait to do this again next year. I love doing this. It's just so much fun. It's my passion to be a sports broadcaster / podcaster. So I appreciate that. And real quick, let me just tell you guys a quick story. So I was at a party a couple of days ago, and I told all these guys at the party, these are just like some random guys. Like, they were just asking me what I wanted to do. And I was like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you want to be a sports broadcaster? Prove it right now. And like on the spot, right? They're like, give us a play. Just give us just act like you're commentating. And literally, I'm just thinking, and I off the top of my head, I'm like, I just literally was like, Jalen Hurts here comes the Eagles at midfield, and they're losing 7-0. Let's see what they do. Jalen Hurts drops back to pass, rolls to the right, wide open. We got Devontae Smith wide open for a touchdown. Philadelphia 7-7 Eagles, or like something like that, man. Like, I don't remember it off the top of my head, but they asked me to come up with a scenario, and I did like 3 or 4 or so. And they really said that like my voice was very good for it. And these are just random people at a party, bro. Like these were not my friends. So that means the world to me if y'all are listening. A big appreciate that. I love all the love and support. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in every week, for liking, commenting, subscribing. Again, it means so much to me and Shane. I can't even express that. And we'll be back next year. We might make some off-season content. Stay posted. If you see a post notification drop, hit the bell, and you'll see more off-season content. But Shane's merch, check that out. I'm gonna put that in the link description. You still have the promo code Bull22, right?
That one it does not work now. So, or I have to check. I'll when before you drop it. I'll have to check.
Just text me. Yeah, just text me.
All right.
But regardless if it doesn't work, I'll still put Shane's merch in the bio if you guys make hoodies or whatnot, or just an assortment of just merchandise clothes.
Get the sweatpants. Get the sweatpants. I think those are the most comfortable sweatpants I've ever worn. Those are probably the best seller, honestly. The sweatpants and then the unisex T-shirt.
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely the most comfortable sweatpants he's ever learned. That's a good marketing thing there, Shane. to have people buy that. But in all seriousness, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you all. I'll be back next year. And as Russell Wilson said, Broncos country. That's right. So again, thank you guys so much, and don't forget to watch Super Bowl tomorrow, 6:30 on Fox. And bye guys. Have a good one.